All right, everybody, welcome to episode 1044, Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo Sports Talk and more. My name is Patrick Moran. Thank you very much to everyone out there, as always, for watching the show, for listening, however you consume Talking Buffalo. I appreciate you guys so much. Big shout out today's sponsor, Sunny Reds, 1841 Aber Road, just minutes down the way from Highmark Stadium. I'll tell you what, I always talk about their wings, their fingers, their food. If you're a karaoke person, that's the place to be this Saturday, 9 p.m. They got karaoke. DJ Jixer from 97 Rock, he does it. That place just absolutely pops for karaoke. I've been there a couple times. It's great. So if you like karaoke, or even if you don't, you just want to be around a good crowd, come up there this Saturday night, 9 p.m. Today's episode, this is our Friday episode, which means, as normal, not always, but as normal, this is our Podbag episode. I love these because you, the listener of the show, you control the narrative. It's your questions, your comments, your takes. I'm responding to all of them, or at least as many as I can get to today. And this is pretty much all Buffalo Bills talk. Sometimes I like to try to mix it up with other topics, but there was enough good Bill stuff to cover an entire episode today. So that's what we're doing. Real quick, two things that we're going to dive in. This is the 12th consecutive day of having an episode of Talking Buffalo. Now, we're always Monday through Friday, so this is a 5 times per week show, generally. But with the NFL draft going on last week, and that was so much fun, such as demand, we actually had bonus episodes last Saturday and Sunday. Saturday live, of course. Actually, both of them were live. And it was a lot of fun. It was well worth it, but 12 straight days is enough. So after this, there will be, we're getting back to normal. No weekend episodes. Podcasts will be back next Monday. Now, we do record Monday's podcast Sunday night live on YouTube. Joe from Queens joined me, and that is always an interesting recording with Joe. And plus, on the video side on Sunday night, live chat, lively chat. That's always a big part of that recording. So anyway, if you're not doing anything Sunday night, you don't want to wait till Monday to listen, jump on Talking Buffalo YouTube channel at 9 p.m. Sunday. I'll be on there with Joe from Queens. The other thing I wanted to hit on was yesterday. I don't know if you guys had a chance to watch or listen to yesterday's show, but if you didn't, please go ahead and do that. Tommy Parzymieso, the Buffalo Bills super fan, 17 years old. He just turned 17, by the way, on Wednesday. A lot of you have come to know him after last week. He got the opportunity through the Make-A-Wish Foundation to be the one to announce the Buffalo Bills first round draft pick. And man, what a moment for him. And he crushed it. He absolutely crushed it. He was on the show with me live from Imperial Pizza yesterday. And I just got to tell you, man, and I'm not just saying this isn't me blowing smoke up your ass. I'm being dead ass right now. I was humbled and honored to have him, not just have him on my show. That's cool and all, but just to get the opportunity to spend some time with him. Tommy and his lovely mother, Susan, came about an hour before the show. We had some pizza and wings. By the way, shout out Imperial. Bomb wings. Those Murph wings are up there among the best. But anyway, we sat down, we ate, and we just talked for a good hour. And I got to know Tommy and I got to know his family a little bit. And just, man, oh man, inspirational kid, inspirational young man. He really is. To have DMD, be diagnosed with that at 2 years old, and now it's at the point where he can't get around unless he's on an electric wheelchair. That's a shitty hand to be dealt for a lot of people. And a lot of people would hate the world over that. Woe is me. That's not him, though. That's not him at all. Just an indomitable spirit, a passion for life, a passion for the Buffalo Bills, for sports, his family. I truly mean it. When we left that show yesterday, and look, the interview was fun. I enjoyed it a lot. Tommy had a really good time. I think he really started to get loose and light up a little bit, especially on the second half of the interview. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it was the greatest interview in the history of interviews, that it was the best conversation, even in the history of Talking Buffalo. But it was a lot of fun, and it was really cool to see Tommy kind of open up a little bit. But more importantly than that, by the time the show was done, by the time I had an opportunity to when Tommy and his father showed up later in the show, and when they left, I just truly was inspired. I really, really was. An incredible, incredible young man he is. If you did not watch or listen to the show, I really implore you, man, go back and watch or listen. Really, really good stuff. And by the way, he has the Team Tommy fundraiser. I'll put a link in the show notes. Saturday night, 9 p.m. Buffalo Wings. Going to raise money to help for home renovations and equipment and stuff that Tommy needs to kind of have a better quality of life, to be more independent and have a better quality of life. And people are stepping up around the community like crazy. And they always do. That's not surprising. But seriously, just a special, special kid. I'm a big, big, big fan of Tommy. Let's get into the pod bag today. At Geo Gang says, the obvious question, thoughts on Elijah Moore to the Buffalo Bills? All right, well, I'm not going to deep dive into it too much. I will tell you too, Sunday night when I record with Joe from Queens, the primary focus is going to be examining Brandon Beane's history, his entire history as GM with the Buffalo Bills, how the Bills have stacked up receivers on the roster, how they fared. I feel like wide receivers been especially with this draft and the couple of days after it, it's just been a big lightning rod for conversation. So Joe and I are going to dig a little bit deeper. We're going to go into Brandon Beane's entire history of how he's handled wide receivers with the Buffalo Bills. I think you might find it surprising. But anyway, as for Elijah Moore, I like it. I like it. I maybe more than most even. I think it's a really good fit. A really, really good fit. Kind of the motto of, good things come to those who wait feeling today. That's how I feel right now. I think Moore was the best of the bargain wide receivers out there post, free agency, since the draft. I thought when I looked at that list of available free agents after the draft and the Bills didn't take one to the seventh round, I was like, Eli Moore's the guy. Obviously, I like it a lot better now too. The fact that the Bills didn't take a wide receiver in the third round or the fourth round or even the fifth round. So I feel good about it. Also, I think it's worth noting that, Elijah Moore is not exactly one of those long in the tooth, old veteran pickup ideas either. Like, say, re signing Amari Cooper would have been, or maybe if they would have gotten interested in, say, Keenan Allen, who's out there. That's not Elijah Moore. Dude just turned 25 years old. He definitely did not live up to the second round expectations that he had coming into the league with the Jets when they took him back in 2021. And later on with Cleveland, he was all right. He was good. It was okay. But, the at least in part, the failed expectations that at least some people certainly think, being a second round guy, that he didn't live up to it. Some of that's on him. It is. Can't put it all on everybody else. You can't just point the finger at everyone else all the time. But let's not get it twisted either, because this dude has played with some shitty ass bums at quarterback. Bums. Bad players. Zach Wilson. Mike White. Shout out Mike White. Now that you're a Buffalo Bill, hopefully you don't got to start a game. Deshaun Watson. Jameis Winston. The quarterback for Cleveland has got three names. Dorian Thompson. Something. I don't even know what the hell his middle name was. Just Joe Flacco. Just not good quarterbacks throughout his career. And that matters. And you want to know why that matters? You go and you look at the stats from last year. Elijah Moore, nearly 30% of passes thrown his way were uncatchable last year. Almost 30%. That is wild. And that was like fifth worst in the NFL. He's a good speed guy. He can separate at all three levels of the field. And I don't think you're not asking him to go out there and be 2021 Stephon Diggs either. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I think this bolsters the Bills' depth chart with the guy who's had some success. I mean, he had 61 catches for the Browns last year, only 8.8 yards per catch. But again, part of that is scheme. Part of that's, the quarterbacking. Part of that is a lot of bad throws where he might have been open in the intermediate parts of the field. where he could have racked up more yards. My big concern prior to this signing, and especially right after the draft, and we talked about this a little bit earlier in the week, was people were pushing for wide receiver, I think, for, in my opinion, this is just one person's opinion, but for the wrong reasons. Like getting Chris Olave or somebody like that, or going to get Jameson Williams. Yeah, that would have been awesome. Who doesn't want that? But for me, I wanted to get a receiver with some proven talent because my big concern was if any of the top 4 receivers on the Buffalo Bills right now, Keon Coleman, um, Khalil Shakir, Curtis Samuel, and Josh Palmer, if any of those 4 guys go down, like the depth fallout, no, it's almost like going off a cliff. Like it drops a lot after that. With Tyrell Shavers or Jalen Virgil, or KJ Hamler, or whoever, the 7th round rookie, at worst, to me, Elijah Moore is solid protection. And personally, I think he could come in there and he could push Curtis Samuel for that 4th wide receiver spot. No reason why he can't. I don't see 5 wide receivers who don't play special teams being active on game days. And I don't know if Elijah Moore, at least right now, I don't know. Maybe you could tell me if he has a history of playing special teams. I don't know, but if he doesn't, I don't see them keeping 5 receivers active on the game day 46. So we'll see how it plays out. But this is a good addition. I like it. And I want to be careful too, in fairness and being objective here. I'm not just going to use the excuse that, Elijah Moore has not played with good quarterbacks, and now because he's playing with Josh Allen, he's going to explode. I mean, we were saying the same thing 12 months ago, pretty much, with Curtis Samuel, playing with Sam Howell in Washington, before that Carolina. We're like, he's going, Josh Allen, this could be a 1,000-yard receiver. Didn't work out that way last year. So, but again, I like it. I would have been good with him in early March, to be honest with you. And I'm really happy with him right now at this point of the offseason. At Duncan MVP 24 says, everyone's writing off Dewayne Carter already. I remember people doing the same with Terrell Bernard, and look at Terrell Bernard now. Where are we with this entire 2024 draft class after 1 year? Obviously, it's still too far early to tell. Well, let's talk about it for a second. Let's start with Dewayne Carter, because you mentioned him specifically. To me, when it comes to how an organization feels about a player, they can talk a lot. Brandon Beane could talk. Sean McDermott could talk. But for me, actions speak louder than words. I don't like the Terrell Bernard comparison that you made in your take here, because the Bills' actions following 2022 going into 2023 showed that he was groomed to start. Like, he was put in a position to start when Tremaine Edmonds left for the Chicago Bears in free agency. Like, when Terrell Bernard went to training camp, all he had to do to earn the starting spot was beat out Tyrel Dodson at camp. And Terrell Bernard didn't really do that. He got hurt. He missed the preseason, and he still ended up starting week 1. So the Bills wanted him to start. Tyrel Dodson, obviously nothing special. He was all right, though, but that job was Terrell Bernard's. It was his. So it's about opportunity and a path to playing. Like Terrell Bernard, when he's healthy, he plays 100% of the snaps. I don't see that with Dewayne Carter. Again, actions. The Bills already have Ed Oliver. For now, anyway, at least, they saw DaQuan Jones. They signed Larry Ogunjobi. And the fact that Brandon Beane did not know that he was going to be suspended, found out after, and still signed him, even knowing he was going to miss 6 games, that tells me that he has some high hopes for Larry Ogunjobi over, the last 2/3 of the season. So they do that. And then they go out and they took not 1, but 2 defensive tackles in the draft, guys that they were both trade ups for within the first 4 rounds. I have a hard time seeing Dewayne Carter, as things stand right now, getting a lot of opportunity for reps unless Daquan Jones ends up getting cut, which I don't think happens because Larry Ogunjobi is going to be suspended for the first 6 games. Like, I think Deion Walker would have to come to camp and play out of this world good that they're so confident that he could absolutely be the starter. Because if that's the case and Walker clearly wins the starting one-tech job, maybe they come back to saying, well, Dewayne Carter could be the backup. Let's move on from Daquan now. I'd be surprised if that happens, though. So assuming it doesn't, you got Ed Oliver and Daquan Jones again as your starters. You got TJ Sanders, who you moved up for in round 2. You got Deion Walker, who you moved up for in round 4. And Dewayne Carter, to me, he sits right now as the 5th defensive tackle in this rotation. And again, what do you do in week 6 when Larry Ogunjobi comes back? If all these guys are healthy, I just don't see a path to Dewayne Carter even getting an opportunity to play much, if at all. So if that's the case, how can you say, after just 1 year, well, he's not going to amount to anything? Well, you're not going to amount to anything if you're not out there playing. It's kind of like what happened a little bit with Boogie Basham, different positions, but kind of the same thing. The team lost confidence in him really, really quick. In terms of where we are with this class after 1 year, of course, it's tough to tell, but opportunity for the most part still knocks. Keon Coleman will have, I would expect, to be a significant role this year with the Buffalo Bills. He's their biggest receiver, and I'm talking literally he's their biggest receiver. The other big ones, Matt Collins, Amari Cooper, they're gone. Elijah Moore, who just signed, he's not big. The 5th rounder, or not the 5th, the 7th round rookie, he's a big boy. He's going to have a tough path to be out there. Have a tough path to make the roster. So, right now, Keon Coleman, he's their best blocker. I think he's their best blocker, at least when he's motivated to block, he certainly is. They're counting on Keon Coleman to take a big step. Like last year was mostly disappointing. There were certainly flashes, the Seattle game, the Tennessee game, the touchdown against Jacksonville after he got benched for being late for whatever on that Monday Night Football game. He flashed moments. We saw instances, the Houston 4th down conversion that he took a 4th and 5 and he swung it for a large touchdown. There were certainly moments with Keon Coleman that were promising. All in all, though, I would say last year's mostly disappointing, especially after the injury. Like after the injury, hugely disappointing. 3 catches, 22 yards in 3 playoff games. It's going to be a big, big, big year for him. But I think, again, with actions speaking louder, I think there's a lot of confidence in Keon Coleman. I think if the Buffalo Bills had no confidence in Keon Coleman for him to take the next step, I feel like they would have been aggressive, whether it would have been free agency or maybe a trade where the Bills would have went to land a bigger fish that way. But the fact that they didn't, that tells me through actions that I think they have a lot of confidence in Keon. As for Cole Bishop, 2nd round pick, he's in line to start, although I can see it already. I don't think him and Rapp are both locks to both start. I think Taylor Rapp is a lock to start. But I think Sean McDermott is going to have another one of his open free safety competitions at camp between Cole Bishop, Damar Hamlin, and Derek Forrest, the guy they signed over from Washington. I do think it's Cole Bishop's job to lose. I think he had a tough rookie season, but, a few valid excuses. That summer injury that he had during camp, I think that really put him behind the 8 ball. He kind of got thrown into the fire late in the season when Taylor Rapp went down. I would say mixed results, but Cole Bishop is definitely one of those players where, kind of like Keon, you can't grade a class after 1 year. You can't jump to a conclusion after 1 year on most players because there's still a lot to go. I don't feel like there's a lot to go right now with Dewayne Carter. And look, maybe I'm wrong about Dewayne Carter. I'm good if I'm wrong about it. I'll be happy to be wrong. It's just how I feel. But with Cole, with Keon, the story still needs to be written. I like Ray Davis. I just don't have any crazy expectations for him to have some big leap in 2025, and that's okay. I think with James Cook, still here, and he ain't going nowhere this year. Brandon Beane's made that clear. Him, being the number one guy as he should be. Ty Johnson being re-signed to a multiple year deal. I think his role stays the same. They trust the shit out of him. So Ray Davis is still that third guy, and he'll get some opportunities. One of those guys gets dinged up. Ray Davis could step up. He did last year. James Cook missed that Jets game, Monday Night Football in New York, and Ray Davis had 152 yards from scrimmage. So as long as your expectations with Ray, I feel like are reasonable, good depth piece. As for the other guys, I think Javon Solomon is a guy nobody's talking about from last year, fifth rounder. I think he's got a chance to take a step. Like he could be Von Miller light potentially in this defense. He's got some pass rush reps from last year that I really liked. And I think he could become a situational guy that the Bills like. Kind of like a Leonard Floyd type. Now, I don't think he's going to play as much as Leonard Floyd did a couple years ago, but along those lines, he can bring you, if it's 3rd and 9 and you got Ed Oliver and TJ Sanders out there, Groot, I can see situations where Javon Solomon is that, edge rusher, and he can be effective doing that. Bottom part of the draft, LaFocio, Van Pran Granger, Tylen Grable, they remain depth pieces. Overall, like I said, I've half written off Dewayne Carter already, and maybe I shouldn't. I think Ray Davis is a really good backup. This class ultimately is going to depend on Keon Coleman and Cole Bishop. Either way, whether it ends up being good, whether it ends up being bad. But, unlike guys who like Kyrie Elam or Boogie Basham who busted and didn't get many chances, the opportunity is definitely there this season for Keon and for Cole Bishop for sure. Anyway, let's take a real quick break, come back, and we'll fly through some more of these Buffalo Bills talk here on Podbag Friday. All right, going through this Podbag, this Buffalo Bills edition of the Podbag at yards per pass said, all the stuff with Beane and the wide receiver talk this year never occurs if Keon and Kincaid would have played well last year. This year was not the year to go swimming in the wide receiver draft pool. In hindsight, now that it's over, and it's easy to say things in hindsight, be a Monday morning quarterback, but I agree with you, dude, 100%. I agree with you 100% when you said we're not discussing pass catchers being any kind of weak spot or weakness on this team at all if Keon Coleman and especially Dalton Kincaid had the type of 2024 last year that we hoped for. The Dalton Kincaid knee problem was a big deal. I mean, let's be honest. Given what he did his rookie year in 2023 when he had 73 catches, one of the most prolific rookie tight end seasons in NFL history, given what he did then, last year he borderline stunk because of the expectations. I remember very well sitting at Sunny Reds right before the start of the season. Matt Perino and Howard Simon did a Buffalo Bills preview with me, and we finished up with our bowl predictions for the season. And Howard said his bowl one, not to call Howard out because he wasn't, a lot of people felt this way, but Howard said Kincaid could get 1,000 yards receiving. And given those expectations, he got stunk. But he was hurt, and it was a big deal. Now, his hands weren't hurt. He should have made that catch in the Kansas City game. And if he makes that catch, maybe the Bills go on to the Super Bowl. You get my point, though. I've said it all offseason long, I feel like. The Bills' offense was historically good last season. How do you stay sustainable? Well, two things. Number one, the defense, which all in all, as a whole, was not very good last year. Certainly not as good as Sean McDermott wants it to be. But a lot of turnovers that helped the Bills score points. So that's part of it. But to me, the even bigger part to the offense being sustainable to last year is Keon Coleman and Dalton Kincaid stepping up this season in 2025. Like, if Dalton Kincaid gets back to 2023 Dalton Kincaid, and if Keon Coleman stays healthy, gets a little bit stronger, which he is working on, he's been working in the weight room. You've heard about that recently. If he gets more consistent, just matures a little bit, little things here and there, combined with Khalil Shakir, who's just rock solid, Curtis Samuel, Elijah Moore, either or, both maybe adding a little bit here and there, and bam, passing game will be just fine. It'll be just fine, especially with arguably the best player in the entire National Football League right now throwing him the football. So, to your point, you're right. This ain't a discussion. If Keon plays better last year, if Kincaid especially plays better last year, it's not even a worry this offseason. I don't know if I call it a worry right now, but I certainly think them two stepping up, you can argue, is one of the biggest factors on this entire roster. At Ty Dunn, my man, Ty Dunn, this is what he had to say on Twitter. He said, you could follow logic on Max Hairston. These Bills have a dire need for speed at corner. Somebody who could stick with these Casey receivers man up. Should give them a puncher's chance on all those crossers. And that AFC Championship game took a dark turn when Kyrie Elam needed to play. Man, you ain't lying, Ty, man. The great Ty Dunn in on the conversation. By the way, go to golong.com. He didn't ask me to promote this. I'm doing this on my own. He's got a one-on-one again. He did this last year too. A one-on-one with Bills general manager Brandon Beane. And I'm going to tell you, Joe and I are going to break it down, that column a little bit on Sunday night. I think it's topic worthy because he asked Brandon Beane some pretty tough questions. Like, it's not one of those softball questions, galore at the Bills GM. I felt like he asked him some really poignant questions, which doesn't surprise, if you know Ty Dunn, of course. But anyway, listen, I agree about the logic when it comes to Max Harrison. Not going to lie, when the Bills took him, when Tommy announced the name at the draft, it caught me off guard a little bit. I think it caught a lot of people, at least going by my experience of being at a draft party. It was kind of, I think everybody was, I certainly wasn't. I think a lot of people were expecting Trey Amos or maybe another corner or maybe a curveball with an edge, something like that. But when they announced Harrison, it was kind of like a second and a half of silence. Then, okay. Yeah. But I get it, man. I've gotten it in the days since. Harrison makes a lot more sense. He could run with literally any wide receiver in football. 4.28 at the combine, fastest of anyone at any position. And the Bills want to be able to play more man. That's obvious with this pick. Also kind of obvious with Dorian Strong later in the draft as well. Who I think he could become a primary corner backup on this roster, especially because he plays special teams as well. But anyway, back to Max here. He feels like to me like a guy who could be an all-pro or he can completely bust out. Like a low floor, very high ceiling, boomer bust type player. Like he can be another Kyrie Elam or he can be another Jalen Ramsey just as easily. You know what I'm saying? Like, whereas Trey Amos is probably, a safe bet to be a solid starter in the NFL and not really anything more or not anything less, depending on what your perspective is. I'm kind of good with taking the big chances now, rolling those dice because speed is what the Bills secondary needs. They need it badly. And I feel like they got it with they already definitely got it with Max Harrison. How he translates to the NFL in coverage, he becomes a better tackler, stuff like that will determine how good of a pro he could be. But his speed and his ability to make things happen with the football in his hand too is special. So yeah, I like it, man. At Bills Mafia Experience, and this is kind of a longer one here, but interesting. People are dumb when it comes to the draft. Well, that's an opening statement there. TJ Sanders is an interior pass rush specialist, but he can stack and shed. He can play the run. He was a first team all SEC, the best conference in college ball. That's truth there, no lies. Sanders has incredible lateral movement skills, nibble feet, and heavy hands. Late first round talent from my eyes, yet almost no one saw it coming. People act like, when we wanted a wide receiver and they took a scrub backup 3 tech. They are going to look stupid soon. Many scouts feel Sanders will eventually start next to Oliver, not play behind him, although he could play both spots and possibly kick out to end occasionally even. P.S. Deion Walker has pass rush upside. He is not Alfred Collins, a standard 1 tech. All right. Strong take there from Bill's Mafia experience. Look, I get the TJ Sanders straight up and pick, but he's going to have to prove it to me. It did feel to me, and I'm no expert, of course I'm not, like a reach. I heard Mel Kiper call it a reach to other people. I mean, who gives a shit? I get that. But in terms of the Bills, I certainly I see the reasoning. I see the reasoning. Look, the Bills only had, I think it was like 8 sacks in the interior of the defensive line last year, in the middle. That's awful. That's horrific. The school of thought is get Sanders on the field with Ed Oliver, especially like in obvious pass rushing downs, and that should create significantly better pressure in the middle. Brandon Beane spoke about there not being a lot of guys who can pass rush inside in this draft. And that was they had TJ Sanders as the best one. And that's why they identified and traded up to go get him. He definitely has that pass rush juice. How often Sanders can be on the field determines, it's determined by if this was a good pick or a bad pick. Time will tell on that. Is he only going to play when Ed Oliver's out? Or is he only going to play alongside Ed Oliver if it's like 3rd and 10? Then I don't love it. But man, even if he only ends up doing one thing, like even if he's just a one-trick pony, but he does that well, it's something that this team desperately needs. So I totally get the pick. At Matt Tingley 4 says, draft as a whole, Buffalo got perceived value compared to consensus at positions of need for almost every pick. Regardless of personal opinion on each pick, it's difficult to fault the process and result. A 4th-round wide receiver would be wide receiver 5, and would be hard for them to make the 46 game day roster. It's a good take. Thank you very much for that, Matt. What did you say that? Oh, you said where it's difficult to fault the process and the result. Well, the result remains to be seen. In terms of the process, I agree with you fully. After each pick, I was rummaging through like the various NFL draft analysts and their big boards, like Dane Brugler, Matt Miller, my guy Chris Trapasso, a couple others. And I was looking at like the overall board rankings for those guys and, the positional rankings. No one the Bills took seemed like significantly like a reach, at least on paper, literally at all. Like each pick made sense. They needed a speed corner. They got a speed corner. They needed more pass rush juice up the middle. That's why they took TJ Sanders. Landon Jackson was just straight up good value in round 3. Almost every mock draft I saw, he was going early round 2. End of round 1, early round 2, no later than the middle of round 2. And the Bills got him at 72. Deion Walker was a big swing in the 4th, but he's got big upside. And I also think he's got a clear path to maybe not in August, maybe not week 1, but he's got a pretty clear path to unseat Daquan Jones sooner than later. You get to the 5th round, the later rounds. Jackson Dawes, a big-ass blocking tight end. They needed that. They needed that TE3. He fills that Quinton Morris role, and in some ways, he may be better. Quinton Morris might have been a better pass catcher. Maybe Quinton Morris ends up, being a better special teams player. But Dawes is going to have a role on this team. He ultimately could be your Dawson Knox replacement down the road, too. Hancock, strong. They're going to push Cam Lewis. They're going to push Jamarcus Ingram. They might push DeMar Hamlin for a roster spot. It was a very practical and sensible draft, no doubt. At Philip Gibson, 9091 said, this draft could go down as the draft that the Bills, that brought the Bills the dominant defense they needed. I'm really looking forward to seeing the new blood in action. So am I, dude. So am I, Phil. Could be, man. Time will tell, but I'll tell you this. Talked about this recently on the show because every year around the draft, I'm reminded of this. To not get too high, not get too low. We all know, and Brandon reminded us this week on WGR, how many people were sick about it when the Bills took Josh Allen over Rosen. We know how that played out. But to your point, with the defense, I'll never get over 2006. Whitner, McCargo, Yabodi, Co Simpson, first 4 picks, all defense. Transformation ready to be completed. Didn't work out. Didn't work out at all. So I'm on guard because of that. But to your point, I get what you're saying. The resources and the excitement level because of what they put in this defense. After watching a team that just doesn't play well against Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs defensively, all this new blood, to your point, it's going to be exciting to see for sure. At Scotty Smalls, Hancock is going to take Hamlin's spot. I fully believe that. I think this team likes Damar Hamlin too much, and I can see like Cam Lewis being the guy cut before him. Hancock is more similar to Cam Lewis in that he could play boundary, he could play slot, he could play safety, does special teams. And he's got that Cam Lewis skill set. But hey, maybe they keep them both, who do a lot of similar things. They could do multiple things. They're versatile guys, both of them. Maybe Damar Hamlin's the odd guy out. Especially, I would say this, for Damar Hamlin to be the odd guy out, not only would Hancock have to look good because Hancock could play some safety, just like Cam Lewis could play some safety. I would say this, for Damar Hamlin to be the odd guy out, I think Derek Forrest would have to look better than Damar Hamlin at camp. Like if Derek Forrest, let's just say Rapp and Bishop do start, if Forrest is that third safety, like if he's the better between him and Hamlin and he wins that primary backup safety job, I could see a scenario where Damar, at that point, he'd get cut. I'll tell you this. Training camp battles, especially in the secondary for roster spots this year in Rochester at St. John's Fisher, is going to be lit. It's going to be fun this year, especially compared to last year, where jobs really didn't feel like they were on the line. Like this roster, maybe it's the last receiver spot or whatever, or maybe one other spot. But by an early part of camp, you knew who was making this roster. There was no real drama. There might be some drama this year at camp. You're going to have a wide receiver 6 battle with about 4 or 5 guys, which that's not surprising, but you're going to have some battles in the secondary for depth pieces. Dorian Strong, a player that a lot of people like, but he is only a 6th-round guy. So you got Dorian Strong. You got Jordan Hancock. Who's out? Is it Cam Lewis? Jamarcus Ingram? Damar Hamlin? Dane Jackson is no lock to make this football team anymore, folks. You got Trey White. So, whether Trey starts the season or if Harrison starts the season, but if Harrison starts the season and Trey White's not starting, Trey White's not playing because Trey White don't do special teams. But does Dane Jackson look good in camp? Does Trey look a step slow? If that's the case, and Dane can play some special teams, maybe Dane gets that job. So there's a lot of competition going on this summer. There will be anyway with a couple of these spots, especially in the secondary. Just a few more here. At Brian P. 150H. Let's not go overboard giving the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes too much credit. The Bills usually play soft against them. The Eagles weren't in all of them and smacked them around. The Eagles defense also has playmakers that the Bills don't. Also, Mac Hollins can't be your leading receiver in an AFC championship game. Oh, Brian P. bringing the Kansas City shade, man. I like it, man. I'm here for it. I agree on some levels for sure. The Bills do play soft, timid, and maybe most importantly, reactionary against the Kansas City Chiefs for some reason in January. Regular season seems to be a different story, but when it gets to be January, it's like they're reacting. They're on their heels with everything the Chiefs do. They're trying to react, playing kind of soft. That's undeniable at this point. You can't deny that. Philly certainly didn't. Tampa certainly didn't a couple years ago. The Bengals haven't when they've played them in the playoffs. Kind of got into the Bills, not having playmakers in the second half of your take already. I'm with you on the Matt Collins thing, but I'm willing to give Keon Coleman and Dalton Kincaid this year before concluding that the Bills don't have the playmakers. Defensive side of the ball, man, they were really good at taking the ball away, but not good enough at pressuring the quarterback and some other things. Maybe these new guys, the rookies, Joe Bosa, Michael Hoyt, Larry Ogunjobi, though I don't have real expectations for him. Maybe those guys help. Maybe this is the year where the Bills defense does get more aggressive and they're not on their heels. And guys like Kirsten or maybe Cole Bishop going in the year two, they prove to be playmakers. At Dale Betchko, 8904. Well, the dominance of the AFC East has been fun over the past several years. It's not going to be that easy going forward. I hate the fact that the Patriots will be better. I'd rather have the Jets or Dolphins. I'm not sure if the Bills' run of AFC East dominance is like over quite yet, but I think you're right about it not being that easy going forward. Certainly not like last year where everyone else in the division just absolutely sucked and the Bills were gifted a cakewalk run to they gallivanted to the AFC East title last year. Undeniable, you mentioned the Patriots. Undeniable on paper, they're a lot better. I mean, they added a lot to that roster since this season ended. Their defensive free agency, they got Milton Williams, who absolutely terrified Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl last year. Let's not forget that. Harold Landry III, Robert Spillane, good linebacker, Carlton Davis in the secondary. They had a few good players on defense before that, led by Christian Gonzalez. So I expect that unit to be a lot better. Offensively, still work in progress, but they got Stephon Diggs. They drafted Kyle Williams, who I like a lot. They got Matt Collins, who I keep saying it till week 1 of the regular season. It'd be nice for Matt Collins to be wide receiver 5 on the Buffalo Bills right now, or wide receiver 6, whatever you want to call him. That's neither here nor there anymore. Anyway, my point, they've improved that receiver. They got a left tackle with the 4th overall pick, Campbell. He should be pretty good. They got a big play running back in round 2, Trevion Henderson. A lot of people thought he might go in the first. He's got that game-changing speed. Of course, they got the really good young quarterback and Drake May. And don't forget, coach and Mike Vrabel, who's won plenty before. Teams go from terrible to good in 1 year all the time. We see it every single year. Last year was Washington. Year before that was Houston. The Patriots could be that team this year. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they're in the playoff hunt and even the divisional title hunt late in the season. 2 more here. At Scottish Bills. Fucking gutted that we didn't get Dolak. That's what I thought trading the 240 was going to get us. Don't see the point in the wide receiver we got. Essentially, we had that guy in Shavers on the practice squad. Hope it doesn't bite us in the ass. I would have liked, of course, I wanted Sean Dolak to come here too. I talked to him earlier in the week before the draft. I was trying to get him on the show, but he was in Florida, getting ready for the draft and relaxing a little bit before too. I would have loved him here, of course. I haven't had the opportunity to talk to him and ask him if the Buffalo Bills were even in the mix to either draft him or, to sign him after the draft. I don't know. But I'll say this. First and foremost, I'm really happy for Sean Dolak. I'm happy that he has a chance to choose his destination. Like once the 7th round rolls around, I feel like players almost don't want to get drafted because they have to go there. But when you're not drafted, once it gets to be the 7th round, at least, you get to choose where you feel is your best opportunity. In a way, it's kind of like NFL free agency. You're in charge. You get to pick. Well, to an extent, you get to pick where you want to go with amongst the teams that want you. He chose the Rams over the Buffalo Bills or anyone else that was interested. Maybe they weren't, but he chose the Rams. And I'm confident that he did so with careful consideration. It's about his career. If the Bills wanted him and he wanted to be in Buffalo, if it was mutual, he'd be here. But there's something about the opportunity with the Rams that made him decide to go there. So I'm going to be following him. I'm going to be rooting for him like a lot of you guys. Um, at 17 for MVP. It's unfortunate, but 80% of fans don't know shit. Stop telling the general manager how to do his job. Look, dude, in all due respect here, man, I hate this take. God, I hate when people say that. Fans, you don't know shit. You don't tell the GM. The GM's smarter than you. The coach is smarter than you. You think you're smarter than them. Who gives a shit, man? General managers ain't above criticism. That's just for starters. And secondly, and most importantly, and look, I'm not an advocate of the fans. Fans annoy me. I bitch about it all the time. They bitch at me all the time. It's kind of a mutual bitching here. But in all seriousness, this is important. When fans who don't know shit, like you said, when they stop buying tickets to the game, when they stop buying the jerseys, when they stop buying the merch and all the other stupid fucking shit that teams put out and sell and make billions on, and everything else that makes this sport like the global icon that it became, then you can tell them to stop bitching. Bitch away. Bitch away, people. It's easy to just ignore the noise if you want to. If you're on Twitter and everyone's railing on, the general manager because he didn't take a wide receiver, ignore it. Scroll on by. Hit the block button, hit the mute button, whatever. You're not going to stop it. You're not going to stop it. So why waste your energy bitching about the bitchers? Well, they know shit or not. And I lied because here's one more. At Stephen Noble, 2882. I got to squeeze this in there. It's hard to believe Sly Stallone is 155 years old. That's funny. This sends from our Sylvester Stallone versus Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was the better 80s action movie star, early 90s debate that I had on the show last week. First with Joe from Queens, and then kind of picked it up a little bit with Chris Ostrander. And by the way, it is Sylvester Stallone, and he might be 155 years old. Speaking of, I'm going to end this here. We'll be back for a live show on the video side Sunday night at 9 p.m. with Joe from Queens. The podcast will drop overnight into Monday morning. We're going to examine the job that Brandon Beane has done with wide receivers in all facets, free agency, trades, draft, post-draft signings, everything, since Brandon Beane became Buffalo Bills general manager. That and much, much more. So thank you very much for watching, for listening. Enjoy your weekend. No Talk Buffalo this weekend, but new podcast. Talk to you on Monday.